Oh, put the wrong thing on. Solo cams on. Got my guy here with me this week. There we go. Got the dual cameras on, and of course the old usual. What's good, Relocation Football League fans? It's your boy Smitty, joined here along with Amir Williams, and we are ready to get episode number 3 of the RFL Season 9 podcast underway. We've got some things, of course, to talk about, but yeah, some pretty interesting topics to go over here, guys. So big topics to talk about, main highlight ones. As you can see, of course, we're going to be recapping week 2 of the preseason and what just happened this past week, of course, leading into what's coming up for our final week of preseason games. Quarterback controversies are kind of stemming up right now. So those are going to be some talks right now that we're about to have for a few teams. And then also Geno Gannon talking about how it seems to be looking like it could be a bounce back year for him. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Of course, just the preseason so far and NRC, and we already know about the NRC chance from last year. The way the Thunderbirds looked last night, that's probably the most dominant I've seen a team perform so far in the preseason. And one of the great things about it was it was with the starting unit. So we'll have to see, is a T-Bird still that great of a team in NRC? We'll talk more into that. And of course, RFL mod details. I was thinking about talking about that afterwards, but I'll talk about this right now. So I have officially decided to take a week off after the preseason. So we were going to jump right into the season, but there's still some things that I want to work on. A little bit of things with the mod. We could have still got it on time for the season, I believe, because it really wasn't too much we had to fix. But I want to take that week off because I'm also trying to actually make a little like hype video or something for the intro to that mod too. And then also there's just other little things I have to do. And when the season's rolling, because I can already tell with me having to manage everything, it is extremely difficult to find that time to try to do, the extra things that need to be done. Like I need to correct some rookie faces, little small stuff like that, that if I don't do it now or have the time to do it, it's not going to be done during the season. Then you're going to be wondering why a guy who's supposed to be African-American is white all season. But other than that, we're about to go ahead and dive into this. I'm going to let you guys know right now, I'm going to be on this podcast sipping some water because I just had some spicy crabs. Amir can tell you. Whole family in the house right now, lips burnt up, bro. Like, oh, man, I can't even explain it.
Man.
But yeah, let me go ahead and take a sip. Amir, how you feeling, man, while I take a sip of this? Talk to God. How you feel about this past week? How you feel about the RFL season and everything right now coming up?
Man, this was an interesting week, to say the least. It was a lot going on, and it's really gonna shape up this RFL season. Like Smitty was saying, we have a lot of topics to talk about, a lot of questions on top of that, and I'm gonna just say it's gonna be an interesting season. Just seeing what happens with teams and players, and is we in for one. We in for one this year.
That we are. And let's go ahead and dive into these games. Before I do, let me see. What's it? There we go. All right, so diving into the games, we start off with the first game. And boy, Explorers sure enough got their vengeance. The starters came out here looking tip-top. We always talk about when it comes to NRC, the 2 top dog teams coming out of that conference is always going to be the Explorers and the Thunderbirds. And, of course, both of them shocked this week. Well, not really shocked, but just dominated this week. Dude did the usual, I guess I could say. And this was actually pretty good. This is what we're expecting the Explorers to be able to, do last season. And, of course, the Tigers are on an up and up. But, of course, at the same time, this is just the preseason. But the way that the starters looked, I believe the starters really accounted for all the points that were just about on the board before the backups had to come in. So the first half of play, Daryl Johnson throwing in a touchdown, just doing his thing out there. Kai Cash really struggling out there against the Explorers defense. Explorers defense looking really solid. And yeah, it really wasn't too much going for the Tigers here in this game. The only score they were able to get was from Bryce Madden. And even with that touchdown, they couldn't get the 2-point conversion. Explorers made things tough. What was your thoughts on this dominating performance by the Explorers able to get back, I guess you could say, just slightly after getting swept last season to the Tigers.
And this was ugly if you were a Tigers fan. I mean, like you said, it's only the preseason, but this was just ugly, man. And even though if when somebody says it was an ugly game, you expect the dominant team to put up a lot more points. Hey, if you actually watch the game, that's pretty much what they did. Like I said, the first half, that defense was whooping the Tigers. It was so bad that even the rookie D tackle got a pick on Kai Cash.
Yeah.
The rookie D tackle,
We're in 86.
bro, exactly. We're in the wrong number. I mean, we might see the Explorers run a trick play with this guy, man. If he out here catching picks like this, but this was very bad. If you were a Tigers fan, for the Tigers, um, even on the offense side for the Explorers, Tommy Bigby, I know even though it was
Easton.
he did have that one. He had a big run, like 40 something yards, and even though that accounted for most of his yardage, man was still churning, just running downfield, running through guys. Man, this Explorer team is looking really dominant, and who's know, they might give them another reload bowl.
Yeah, highest overall rated team in the RFL. It have been at least since last season too. So this is a team good with youth. Got a few veterans that make up that high overall that are on the tail end of their contracts and stuff like that. But I mean, the Explorers definitely are still in that window to win a championship. I mean, even last year, I mean, these guys still made it to the playoffs and went all the way to the divisional round where they lost to the Thunderbirds. And so the Explorers, I mean, even then, to lose to a team that still ended up going to the Reload Bowl, to win it on an undefeated season the year before that, we know what type of talent that this Columbus Explorers team has. Like I said, unfortunate regular season losses to this same team. And what makes me even more excited about this is that these two are going to meet each other for a real get back for the Explorers in the first week of the season. So that's where things are going to be very interesting, because if it goes anything like how it went with the starters in this first go around in the preseason, maybe a preseason game, but this might be a future tale of what's to come, and we'll have to see what type of adjustments that Coach Stein makes to try to make the difference of this game being a lot different than what we saw there that night. But yeah, you good.
Nah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, man, this Explorers team. Ooh, I'm worried. I'm gonna be honest, I'm worried. I'm hoping we can take them out of here.
We move on to game number 2, and the Aviators absolutely dominate the Dreadnoughts. And we just talked about how the Explorers dominate, but the run game was completely unstoppable with the Aviators. Another thing, man, to talk about, this is not really in chronological order in terms of the questions that I did give you for what we're going to get into, but Kyle Bain, honestly, his first 2 games with the Aviators has not looked bad at all. He's looked like he's making nice, quick decisions, utilizing his legs when he needs to. And if he is able to be what Cam Newton labeled Brock Purdy, a game manager this year for the Aviators, this Aviators team could be pretty good. But, I mean, the big story of this game was definitely 2K. Kingston Kinney, 17 carries, 153 rushes. It's crazy this guy didn't rush for a touchdown, but that's how many just pop off runs he was having in that first half. And he was just carrying Dreadnoughts on his back like Darren Sharper on that Madden video. It was just that dominant of a performance by Kingston Kinney, and the Dreads just could not do anything to stop him. Maury Ford made some big plays, got a touchdown. And I got to play the bell, though, for the Dreadnoughts offensive line. I forgot who it was that held on the play, but that boy, Cam Perks, could have had a long touchdown run, and it got nullified. Put a dude in a blender, took it all the way to the house, but I just knew it was getting called back because it was like immediately before even juke dude out that I saw yellow on that screen. I was like, oh my God, they did not just do this to my boy. But 34-7 is the final. What's your takeaways from this game?
This game caught me way off guard. I was not expecting this. I honestly I'll be honest, I had the Dreadnoughts winning this one. I expected them to win a close one, but I had them winning this one. And like you said with Kingston Kennedy, man, this My God.
Crazy.
I saw somebody in the comments saying Kenny could have had 400 yards if he played the whole game.
For
And
real.
I'm like, honestly, with the way he was running, I wouldn't be surprised. And it's crazy because even if you take away Kingston Kenny's longest run, which was like 40 something yards, he still finishes the game with over 100 yards on
Yeah.
the day. It was crazy. And even like I was talking to you before the podcast, Didymus came in and he was making plays and he looked like on them times where Kingston comes out the game, hey, you put in Didymus, they gonna still be doing the same thing they were doing before Kenny went to the sideline. And like you were talking, and also you're talking about Cal Bain. I really feel like he can take this Aviators team, and
I
I
say
think they
both
could I think they
Houston
can make.
Columbus, so I can see the confusion there. But yeah, this is the segment where we do have I have a few questions for. So talking about Kyle Bain, as you saying, based off of what you saw, it's preseason, of course, but just
Yeah.
early prediction. When you look at Kyle Bain's performance and the weapons he has around him with this grid of a run game, the ability to extend the play. Marquise Washington could extend plays, but he's not technically known as the scrambling quarterback. Kyle Bain is more so of a scrambler, and he's going to be the one who's more so going to extend those plays. Um, and of course, now it gives you a little question mark. So it's like, oh, well, how good is he in terms of being accurate and being more of a quarterback like how Marquise Washington was? But in these first two games, he really has looked impressive. I mean, you can see the two touchdowns. He did throw an interception, but very efficient with his throwing. Do you think Kyle Bain has the capability? Of course, anybody can say, yeah, he has the chance. But if you had to say yes or no to the Aviators making the playoffs this year with Kyle Bain, what would your answer be?
Man, this is tough. I'm gonna say yes. I feel like they can get there. It's just I feel like it's gonna come down to stuff that's out of their control. Like I feel like if they miss the playoffs, they will barely miss the playoffs. Like a team will win it will they'll have the same record as somebody else, and then they may lose a game, and then they're just praying that another team loses, and that doesn't happen, and they end up missing. I feel like that would probably cause them to miss the playoffs. Another thing is, even though we talk about Kyle Bain a lot, um, I feel like he has the potential to lead this team to the playoffs, but you also got to think we're gonna have to see what happens with this Aviators rushing attack, because if you're Aviators fan, you hoping that nothing happens, but if Kingston Kenny goes down, or it just they teams figure out how to stop this guy, or at least slow him down. You can't really stop him, but at least slow him down. You might start having some question marks. So I feel like it's going to be a just like the offense as a whole, not just Kyle Bain alone. I feel like it's going to be the offense as a whole that will determine if this team gets into the playoffs or not.
Interesting, man. I'm really just leave those questions up for you to answer. I guess a little bit of a response. It is a tough question because I myself really don't know. But I feel like if Kyle Bain playing the way he is these 2 weeks, if he could carry that on to the regular season, we know 2K is going to bring his game regardless. The thing is,
Yeah,
like you said, it comes down to health now. How healthy can he be? He has never really battled injury issues. He's been hurt before, but like it really hasn't really deterred his season. And even if he's gone, of course, he's not the same type of back. But just seeing that rotation of backs with Thomas Didymus, even the Brian Davis getting in, it seemed like every back that was getting an opportunity to touch the ball was going somewhere and doing something decent with it. And this is with an offensive line that not the best, but they look like a really good run blocking unit. And so if that's the case, this Aviators team could be sneakily good this year, looking to try to get themselves back to the playoffs. And I think it's definitely possible if Kyle Bain continues to play the way he is right now. Moving on to the premier games, we have the Voyagers and the Bulls, where Bulls were able to come up with the victory, 20-18, and they were able to get that off a final minute field goal. But it was a good match, pretty much all around. What's your takeaways from the Bulls coming up with their first preseason win game over the Voyagers, as the Voyagers, after getting their first win last week, came up short?
This another one that surprised me. I was not expecting the Bulls to manage to pull this one out, but they did, and it was a very good game. Both honestly, both defenses played pretty solid. Um, for the Voyagers, Trent Williams, he looked pretty good. He had some burn, man. He had, I think, 6 catches for 90 something yards. If I remember correctly, he looked pretty solid out there. The D tackle Gabe Stringer on the,
A
believe
few
he's on the
sacks in
Bulls.
there.
Yeah, he
He's
had
getting busy.
he 3 sacks, 4 TFLs. Man, he was getting that backfield. He's gonna be somebody you want to look out for this season. He's gonna be, if he can keep terrorizing people, like terrorizing these offenses like this. And even Danny Ingram on the Voyagers as well. He also looked pretty solid out there. Overall though, I think this was a pretty solid game by the Bulls. They, like I said, they managed to pull this win out, and honestly, I'm pretty sure a lot of people wouldn't have expected them to. And great job by them.
Yeah, not really too much to talk about here. Like I said, going to kind of go through these games pretty rapidly, other than the ones we do have topics for. But good victory there for the Bulls. Their backup team getting it done, holding on to that win, and just driving down the field, kicking that field goal for the win. Because it was, I believe it was 18-17, and a bold move by the Voyagers because they could have just had it go into a tie because I don't think there's no overtime in preseason. So if they tied it up at 17, it would have just been that for the most part. But the Bulls would have still had a chance to kick game winning field goal. These guys scored. It was 16-17. Thought they were going to kick the field goal. Instead, they went for the 2-point conversion. And they thought, hey, we converted. We got it in the bag. 18-17. And then the Voyagers said, hold my beer or whatever it is. And they ended up winning the game, driving down the field, getting in range. So that was a pretty interesting and fun game to watch.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next premiere game at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, this was a great one. I wish I had an applause button. I keep forgetting to install that. But the Pioneers defeating the Bisons 25-23, and Devin Diggs with a game sealing throw, I guess you could say, to get them in range to kick the field goal for the win. And just the final seconds, that was big. And Devin Diggs has really been impressive in his only 2 games here in the pro season. He's showing us he could scramble, something he wished he could do while he was in college at UCLA and Michigan. He just was a statue back there, but he's actually using his legs in the RFL, and it has looked very impressive the way he's been able to move about and the quick decisions he's able to make, getting the ball out of his hands and things like that. The first quarter was scoreless. You saw the starting unit, JT, able to throw a few touchdowns. Javier Santana, he ran a touchdown in.
Yeah.
But of course, when you talk about this is one of the quarterback controversies right now that we could get into. So we already know this year it's supposed to be Javier Santana's Mr. Showtime's year, right? First game goes 0 for 4. Those are interception his first pass. Of course, it's just a preseason, rusty, whatever. But for Devin Diggs to come in and do what he did last week, and then to come in here and have the arm talent that he has and the ability to make those quick decisions, this guy looks very comfortable in a role to start. But of course, we have not seen him start yet against the ones. Based off of what you've seen, how real would you say the quarterback position controversy or battle, you could say, is in Pittsburgh?
Man, there's definitely a battle going on.
It's almost looking like
And
the real Pittsburgh.
there's a battle going on out here in Pittsburgh, man. You know how we don't want to hear this, man, because you want to know that your starting spot is good, man. But the way Devin Diggs has come out here and played, man, he's playing with a lot of determination and tenacity out here. And even in week 1 of the preseason, they were down, but you see the man was out here trying his best to get his team to rally and get his team in a position to make this comeback, and it just wasn't working for them. But you could see the determination in trying to get the win and coming out here doing the same thing, really wanting to get that win, and he does exactly that. So honestly speaking, I really feel like if I was the coach of this team, I'd give Devin Diggs a start just this week, just on week 3. The starters playing all 3 quarters, so I'm saying, like, hey, maybe give him the start this week, see what he can do, and then depending on how he plays, make your decision from there. But I really think there is a QB battle here going on in Pittsburgh.
And I'm glad you said that because I was going to actually save that for later, but I guess the best time to really bring it up would be right now, is that is exactly what's going to happen in week 3. So Pioneers will be starting Devin Diggs with the ones for 3 quarters, and Javier Santana will close out. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that is going to turn out, man, and if he can really ball with the ones, we're going to really see what goes down. So I'm excited about that. And that matchup, of course, is going to be against the Armadillos. Pretty solid matchup. I mean, the Armadillos put a whooping up on the Bulls, week 1 of the preseason. So we'll see how that turns out, man. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch. But good game nonetheless. Just a great clutch pass to get them to win that game by Devin
Yeah.
Diggs, earning him this opportunity. Moving on, the Barons starting out their preseason 2-0 as they dominate the Elks 43-24. We got to see our first return for a touchdown this season in the preseason, and Carlton Fatanikin is looking beastly with the Barons, former Thunderbird, and Old Head still got speed, Old Head still got moves, and Old Head's out here cribbing punt returns. It's crazy how good he's actually looking and fitting in with this offense. But with that being said, I mean, what is your thoughts right now on the Barons? The 2 dominant offensive performance. When you think about it and you see how things are going, we're seeing Chavis really fit in nicely with what the offense has going on. He's looking comfortable. But the big story to me of what's going on in New York with the Barons is Ryan Brinker. He's looking very comfortable. Do you think Ryan Brinker can lead this team offensively to be one of the top 5 offenses in the RFL?
Okay, I wouldn't say top 5. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think I don't think they're gonna be a top 5 offense in the
I think I might have said that wrong. I think the question more so was top 5 passing offense.
passing offense.
Yeah.
And I'll keep my answer the same. I don't think they would be a top 5 passing offense, but I definitely do think they have a chance to be a top 10 passing offense. Because, like you said, Brinker has been looking really solid out here, and they have a lot of good receiver talent. And he's like he came out here. He had 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but 183 yards, and he had, let's see, 4 incompletions, and one of them was a pick. So I think he fits well. He fits well now, and honestly, I feel like they have a chance at a top 5 passing offense. Like I said, not top 5, top 10. I don't think they're gonna get top 5, but I do think this Barons team has definitely a good shot with the way Brinker has been playing to be a top 10 passing offense in this league this season.
And even though I did do the passing offense for this, I mean, the offense in general could be something up there this year, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Mainly because, like you talked about, they got the weapons. You got Amari Manuel out there, Carlton Fatanick and Old Head out here balling. You got Marcus Young. These are very fast, young receivers, except for Carlton Fatanick. But then you got a beast running back in Kenny Steele, who's also catching touchdown passes. And the 2
yeah,
preseason games, he caught 2 touchdowns, 1 in each game, coming out that backfield on the wheel route. That's a route that I think when you face the Barons, you're really going to have to look out for, because if there is a mismatch with a linebacker on this guy, it is over. And when they call that route. But yeah, I think they definitely do have the makings. The only thing they have to make sure is clicking and gets together for this team is Ryan Brinker. And we've seen Ryan Brinker that when he's put in a regular offense, that this guy is able to perform as a true quarterback. And so it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to look throughout the year, as he's already impressing so far in this preseason. But yeah, nothing really too much to say about the Elks. Like I said, not going to dive into every specific about each game. I'm just more so going to dive into those specific questions tailored towards the teams involved as we go through them. And that's something I'm going to move forward doing right now. I don't have any graphics, but I'm looking forward to making some graphics and some videos maybe to go with along with those questions and stuff that I ask. But it really does depend on the time that I have to do that. If not, we'll just continue to do this. But moving on to the next game, Red Dragons able to beat the Hogs. Not really nothing too much to say here, but I will say Chip Taylor has been playing some good football, man. He's been throwing some really good passes. Anthony Savoy haven't really seen too much from him, but of course I think next week he's going to be playing and starting all 3 quarters, so it's going to be interesting to see how he fares there. But the Red Dragons able to win by 14, 20-6. The Hogs came out here with a custom playbook with their offensive coordinator who was hired for in the beginning of this year. Didn't have that custom playbook in the first week, but he has it in this week. And McBride is really struggling. Well, I guess there is a
Yeah.
topic to talk about this. I just looked at the questions and talking about McBride. 2 interceptions in this game. I think it was 3. Am I not mistaken? 2 or 3 interceptions within this game, and again, it's just something about him when he's leading the offense since last season. The year before that, in season 7, he didn't look too bad. Didn't look too bad. Led the team to the playoffs. I mean, still led the team to the playoffs now, but he just looks lost. He looks like he doesn't know when to make a decision. The pressure's on
Yeah.
him coming in there too fast. He's just forcing passes, taking unnecessary sacks. He just does not seem aware of what's going on or what to do. And so I guess what my question there is, how long do you think McBride will last this season? Will he be the quarterback from start to finish, or do you think there's going to be a point throughout this season in which he will take a back seat for the rookie out of Oregon, Ronnie Shanahan?
I definitely think there will probably be a QB change if he keeps playing like this. Now, who knows? Maybe guy can some McBride can somehow turn it around. But if he plays like he did this week throughout the season, yeah, it's probably gonna be curtains for him this
Yeah.
season. You probably um and and while we do talk about whether Ronnie Shanahan will get the start, one thing you got to worry about is Ronnie Shanahan because he has been playing against the backup. So for all we know, he could come out there and pretty much look the same way. You never know when it comes definitely when it comes to quarterbacks and going from playing against backups to playing against the starters. But I do think there is a solid chance that McBride does not finish the season as a starting quarterback.
And another thing for some big news here is Ronnie Shanahan will get the same opportunity as Devin Diggs coming up this week. He's going to be running with the ones for 3 quarters, and we're going to see how he fares. Let me see who he goes up against. The Hogs go up against the Bisons. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if Shanahan can get it done there. And then I guess it's a good flip flop because now we get to see how or if they're able to close out with McBride. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that goes. But
Yeah.
yep, that's main types. Got anything else you was about to say on this game? Or you good?
Nah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Moving on to the next game. Man, this was the most exciting game I would have to say of the week. Lumberjacks versus Condors. It was straight back and forth, big play action. Big storyline, though. We already know about Jordan Granger being the first overall quarterback taken in this past RFL draft in the second quarter. But you can't forget about the guy who finished out the year for the Lancers, now Lumberjacks, and Joseph Fontanez, the former College Series 2 Utah Ute, went out there and was throwing dimes, big plays, and was able to lead the Lumberjacks back as also John Copey closed it out with the last touchdown of the game to win the game 40-35. What's your takeaways from this game before I get into more specifics, talking about another potential quarterback controversy here?
Man, this was a great game. This was a great game, man. This Lumberjacks team is gonna is they I think they're really gonna do something this season with the way they play like this. I feel like they're really gonna do something this season. Like you said, Kobe, I believe that's how you say his
Yep,
name.
John Copey.
He he came out here looking came out here looking solid, and it wasn't like he was making big runs. He was just constantly getting those yards that they needed to keep the ball moving. And if they can do that all season, man, this Lumberjacks offense about to be some about to give some teams some work, man. This Lumberjacks team, I really like the way they're looking. I think they can potentially be a playoff team
Yeah,
here.
used to be, a few seasons ago. So like, and even last year, certain things that I always felt like it was just a part of their defense that really struggled the most. But and that was in the secondary department because there was a time where these guys couldn't cover anything, couldn't cover a baby with a blanket. But these guys still had a lot of good key pieces. And another issue that hurt them was the quarterback play.
Yeah,
Which before the year before in season 7, they went to the playoffs. They were actually pretty good with Trey Mason until he had a terrible fall off and a bad start to the season that got him benched last year. We seen him have a few interceptions too in week 1 of the preseason that also just really put the nail in the coffin to say, hey, this guy is done after this season. Then Fontanez, who, like I said, finished out last year, comes in, gets the opportunity to play to close out the game in the half, and he comes out looking good. Even last
yeah.
year, towards the end, he was looking pretty good as the starting quarterback for the Lancers. So this is what's sparking up a bit of quarterback controversy, as I was talking about, even for the Lumberjacks. Because now with the Lumberjacks, we know Jordan Granger is the main guy. Fontanez, he is the backup and everything for right now. But after a performance like that, and after actually looking pretty good last year, when he was given the opportunity, how real would you say the quarterback battle is in Louisville?
I I want to say there's a battle just yet. Like it's definitely coming. It's definitely coming, but I want to say it's one just yet because like Granger has looked pretty nice, and like we said, it's gonna be a matter of how Granger can keep playing in his rookie season. If he keeps playing solid, I don't think Fontanez really gets the chance. But if he starts having those rookie quarterback troubles, man, then who knows? We might see Fontanez take over, and who knows what's gonna happen, man. This man, he came out here looking solid.
Yeah,
I was not expecting this.
spinning
I
that
was not
thing.
expecting. He was man, and even then, he had a pick in the game, but even I wouldn't even say that pick was on
It
him
was crazy because
because
the dude
that was
batted
but
it. That was
because
fire.
you could tell with the way Fontenot threw the ball, he saw the guy there and he threw it high to try to get over him, but he just put out a 50-inch vertical to knock that ball out the air.
And caught
And
it
he
and
and then
cribbed it.
caught it, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then Fontenot was making a lot of good passes. I remember on this one play on I think his first touchdown of the game, they were on their like own 38 or something, right? And Fontenez makes a good throw over the middle on a post route to the receiver, and we've seen a lot of quarterbacks make an error with that throw, whether they throw it behind them and cause the receiver to lose momentum, or just completely miss the throw altogether. No, Fontanez delivered the ball on the money, hit his receiver in stride, and bro was able to turn up field and make a long touchdown run. So I really think that Fontanez is a solid quarterback, and I feel like if Granger just doesn't perform, I feel like he has a real shot at taking over.
He's sitting there waiting.
He
He
wait,
waiting.
he waiting.
He waiting
Like
for a mistake.
he's like, I know he don't want his team to do bad, but he's hoping something happens.
And I had asked Jordan Granger too before this week. I left the opportunity up to him on what he wanted to do. So I was just like, hey man, so pretty much after how Fontanez looked, and then of course the risk of a potential injury, I wanted to ask him. I said, hey man, do you want Fontanez to take the 3/4 and you finish it out in the fourth, or do you want the 3/4? And dude say, hey, it's a quarterback battle. Give me the 3/4. He's not trying to give him no chance to be a starter. And you just gotta love that competition, man. You gotta love that thought process, man. It's get real out here. But
Hey,
we're gonna
hey,
see how that goes, man.
Hey, Fontanez, you hear that, man? It sounded like in that fourth quarter, you have to come out here throwing 300 yards in the fourth quarter.
Throwing straight
Hey,
touchdown bombs. But yeah.
hey, this is gonna be interesting development the most. Like,
Oh yeah.
will because we like you were saying, we think Jordan Grader's gonna be the guy. What if that ends up not happening, man? If it ends up
Yeah.
not
It's
happening,
definitely a battle for reloads right now at this point. Whoever can get the most reloads and upgrade the most That's the way it's looking. So it's definitely uh, a good quarterback battle going on here because, of course, Jordan
Yeah,
Granger, he knows himself, even though he's fully confident in his abilities. Ain't nothing just given. Just because you was drafted and you're in the starting position now doesn't mean that you're going to stay in that position. He's fully aware of that, and in my opinion, gave the right answer based off of his situation to play 3 quarters despite a potential injury. Because you got to think about it. Even if their injury is to happen, Fontanez is still going to get his shot to play in the regular season. And honestly, if he's able to ball like that, say Granger continues to be that starting guy, something does happen to him later on down the line. Fontanez, a good guy to be able to keep working on, to get himself in the right position to be able to keep the team afloat until he's able to return. So you
yeah,
just gotta love it, man. Gotta
yeah.
love it. Condors though, they were sticking in this as well. So some shout out to them, but no key points really to talk about with that team in that department. Same with the Bulldogs and Sentinels here. Bulldogs just getting the victory, 23-6, same score as it was for the Explorers and Tigers game. Bulldogs were expected to be victorious in this one, and yeah, the Sentinels defense kind of struggling a bit, but yeah, I mean, not really too much to go off of from this. It's just the Bulldogs being that talented, having that depth all over the place, and being able to handle the Sentinels fairly easily here in this one. What's your takeaways from this?
Yeah, like I said, this is just the Bulldogs being the Bulldogs, man. I expected a slightly closer game. Like I expected it to be, I expected it to be a 10-point game, not this. But this Bulldogs team, they're looking like they're gonna do exactly what they did last year. They're making that reload bowl push, and Timmy Merritt, man, he's looking good. Like he's still looking good, man. And even the Bulldogs rushing attack with Davey Fitzpatrick. Seamus Davey Fitzpatrick looking good and Wheaton as well. So we probably gonna see maybe we see a dual headed monster throughout the season with these two.
Yeah, I would assume so. As good as a back as Seamus Davy Fitzpatrick was coming out the draft, I would think we were all pretty shocked when he got drafted there. We're like, what was he going to do there? He already had youth, and hey, I think Reed, he's already said it. He's going to find ways to get the ball into his hands as well. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to see both of them tear it up on the ground for London this year.
Yeah, but yeah, this was just like we said. This is just Bulldogs being the Bulldogs, man. The Sentinels had were they just couldn't get together. The defense was getting torched. I'm gonna be honest.
Defense was sus. We're gonna move on to the Crusaders and the Shamrocks game. Crusaders able to get a victory. Again, they're 2-0. Shamrocks uh, started out with a score touchdown pass to Roland Woods. Then after that, pretty much the defense was able to do its thing. And then the second half, really, uh, JTA, Jorge Torres Aguilar, he threw 2 touchdown
Yeah,
passes. You can see one of them right here was to um, I was about to say Deshaun Jones, but Deshaun Jones, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is Andre Rose. I know both of them came from Miami. And he was in that. They were in that same team as you were on. But
yeah,
he caught the touchdown pass, and there was one to Braden Dunn from Alabama from College Series 2. Caught one over the top.
yeah,
JTA's played pretty good for the Crusaders
yeah,
as a backup. But of course, he's got no chance of starting over Ben Wakefield. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, Crusaders looking pretty solid. Twenty-seven
yeah.
fifteen the final.
Yeah, Crusaders are looking good, and like you're saying with JTA, man, coming out of the college series, everybody, this is a guy who had a lot of community support, man. Everybody loved this guy, and to see him doing well in this preseason like this, is really good to see. And honestly speaking, if now I'm not saying he's gonna start, but if something happens to Wakefield, this might be a situation. The team will still be in good hands until Wakefield gets back.
This guy's
And
in the 60s, so hopefully.
what is
Hey,
what? Hold on. What is with the 60 overall
hey,
quarterbacks falling,
man.
man?
Yeah, I
What
don't.
is with?
But hey, against backups, I don't think he's
I,
gonna be looking like that if he's out there come regular
yeah,
season, man. There's a
it
lot of
is.
different
Yeah,
looks when the regular season hits. I know that for a fact. If one of these
yeah,
dudes that is forced to step out against a
yeah,
starting defense, it's gonna get ugly. I just know it. Especially if you
yeah,
got to face like one of the top defensive fronts. You talk
Yeah,
about the Thunderbirds, the Bulldogs, the Miners. Like those are defenses that they
yeah,
don't stand a chance. But
yeah.
yeah, hopefully they'll.
These are the kind of guys where if your starting quarterback goes down, you're hoping that it happens around a stretch of games where you're playing those like bottom of the barrel teams where you ain't got to worry too much about their defense. This is the kind of guy that you have out here. But even then, just the fact that all these six overall quarterbacks are doing this well, even if it is against backups, it's something to see because you don't really see that in Madden a lot. The 60 overall quarterbacks, they be going 3 of 12 for for 5 yards or something, man.
One thing
It's
I
crazy.
can also say about that is defensive backs when they bring in that second team unit. We got to remember these are low end cornerbacks also out there getting cooked. Like some of these
Yeah.
guys are like 50 something overall out there playing
Ooh,
corner or 61 and you going up against it don't seem like a good receiver like that because he's in the 70s, low 70s or mid, but a 75 overall quarter a wide receiver manned up against a 61 overall corner with 60 something man coverage while this dude's got like 75 and he's faster. I think that's really equating to
yeah,
the outcomes that we're seeing with guys getting smoked like that, making it look easy. But
yeah,
that definitely changes when you get that starting unit look. Moving
yeah,
on,
man.
this is something to talk about. The Monarchs able to beat the Snogs. Of course, again, we know it's the preseason. Things going to look different in the regular season. I will say to the Snogs, uh, on their behalf in terms of why they kind of probably look like this was because I did try to test a different book out for them, and obviously that's not going to be the book that they're going to roll with because it did not look
Yeah,
too good, and Joseph Gilly was throwing a few interceptions. But what gets me concerned about Joseph Gilly is still throwing those interceptions. Now the Monarchs, they still have some good defensive backs. And I spoke on Joseph Gilly. I said, I feel like he's a quarterback this year that's going to look and perform better than he did last year because he was in a primary heavy pass offense last year. And even though you have a great quarterback such as Gilly, you can have a 99 overall quarterback, but if you're passing the ball about 45, 50 times a game, sometimes even 60, that's just way too much, and
yeah,
you are bound to make mistakes. You are bound to have morale drop, things like that. So I tried to change it up because they did have the Kansas City the first week, which they didn't look too bad, and they were able to beat the Miners 20-17 in that one. And Gidley, he did struggle starting out, but again, that's the Miners defense. And we know that that's a tough
yeah,
defense that to even move the ball, period, on. They're really up there, in my opinion, top five, maybe even top three defenses in terms of just sheer performance and keeping teams out the end zone. So that I just wanted to use the preseason to try to test something out. I can't even remember what book I gave them, but I gave them something just off the description that I felt like would match their style. And yeah, it didn't turn out that well against the Monarchs, as the Monarchs were able to win 35-23. What's your thoughts about this game, and also what's your thoughts on Joseph Gilly? Because my question I have here for Joseph Gilly is: should the Snowhawks be worried about Gilly, and more so in a sense to where do you think it's going to be similar to last year, where he's going to be turning the ball over a lot, something he shouldn't be doing technically, when just having that eye test of looking at him being a 96 overall quarterback?
this was a tough game for the Snowhawks, especially offensively in the past game, like you were just talking about, and I I wouldn't say you're worried yet. I wouldn't say if you're the Snowhawks, I wouldn't say you're pressing the panic button just yet. Because, like you said, you're trying to find the right book, and this could just be a situation where, once you find the right book, then Gidley would really be able to take off and just have that good balance of running and passing. Because, like you were saying, if you're throwing the ball 40, 50, 60 times a game, you're gonna throw a lot of picks. It's just bound to happen because you're throwing the ball way too much, and I feel like it should that's really just what it is. I feel like it's I don't think you're too worried yet. It's just a matter of finding that book, finding a scheme that fits this offense and will allow Gilly to thrive. Because like you said, he's a 96 overall quarterback, and even though that overall doesn't mean everything, typically a 96 overall quarterback is going to perform pretty well. And I just like I said, it just feels like to feel like a situation where it's going to come down to scheme and just finding that right balance and the right plays and just overall aspect of that offense to really allow him to thrive. And I feel like that's going to be something that's really possible this season. I don't think you're too worried yet. Now, if you do find a solid book and he's still playing like this, then I do think you're really worried. If you're really worried if you're the Snowhawks. But right now, I think you're just like, all right, let's just try to figure this out, see what we can do.
Yeah, and even when we talk about that balance that the Snowhawks have, trying to get that. I mean, they actually had a pretty good balance throughout the game. It's just the decision making, the aggressiveness of Gilly seemed pretty similar a bit to last year. So that's where I pretty much had my concerns to where what are Snowhawks fans possibly thinking at this point? Like, is he just tweaking like this? I mean, why is he doing this again? But I will say this: they will
Yeah.
have a different. I have tested another book for them a little bit, even though I haven't. I during the season, I really don't have too much time to test too much things different for CPU teams since I have a lot of CPU teams. But there is going to be a different book that I think will mesh with them a little better, which they are going to try next week. And then moving forward from that, I think it's only them out of a few teams that I really am looking into diving into their playbooks that I feel, just to find the right one for the squad. But how much can we say about the Monarchs, man? About them just possibly
Yeah.
being that good? Because the Monarchs is a team that's been on an up and up in the RFL, right? We talk about the
Yeah.
Monarchs. I mean, they made their first playoff appearance in franchise history last year, and how they were able to do that, even though they technically should have got trumped by the Tigers for their first playoff appearance. They didn't get that because they won the head-to-head and the regular season, and that's what gave them the jump to actually get in there as the sixth seed. Now we know what happened to them. They got absolutely demolished by the Toronto Thunderbirds because they shouldn't have been in there to begin with. But this is a up and coming team for sure, and for them to be able to look the way they did, even the defense looked pretty good. Jumping routes, I mean, Brandon McCullough was working in the slot up against the receiver, and he was able to have a nice reaction to pick off Joseph Gilly one of those times. So the Monarchs, I think this is also a testament, not just something of the offense, not just being it for the Portland Snowhawks. I think the Monarchs are also showing that they are a pretty solid team that could make another run for
Yeah.
the playoffs as well.
Yeah, the Monarchs, especially since I've came into the league, because when I came in season 7, the Monarchs have really been on a slow come up. Like the it was very surprising, honestly. But I really feel like this Monarchs team has the tools, has the potential to really make a solid playoff push. And hopefully, if they do make it again, they don't go against the Thunderbirds. If they do make it back in, but this Monarch team is definitely going to be something to watch out for because they have looked really good so far, and it's just it. I know we were talking about the Snowhawk struggles, but like you're saying, this Monarch team might just be that good, and I really think they are. I'm really excited to see what they can do this season, and I feel like they can potentially be a wild card team to come in.
Let's see if they can make that happen for 2 years in a row. Moving on to the next game. Definitely wasn't really too much to say about this. It was very low, probably the lowest scoring game we had this week. The Marshals beating the Diablos. Diablos starting out 0-2. Marshals 2-0. Like I said, there wasn't too much flashiness going on. Had a couple of big plays, but the Marshals getting it done 13-7.
Yeah, this game was it was just like it was just there. This game with all the mess that was going on this week, this game was just there. Um,
At least
I
Ramos
mean,
performed better. And
yeah.
him getting bullied by the Bulldogs last week with Dick Pascal, that was completely unfair. Still ended up getting a loss this week.
Yeah, this was a better performance by Ramos, definitely. But with the Marshals, mate, who's to say? Maybe the Marshals, maybe they go back to the playoffs this year. They're looking pretty okay, and hopefully they and like Terrence Ward, for example, he looked pretty solid this game. Leo Moon looked pretty all right in my opinion as well. Madison Axel as well. Of Diablos,
Oh
he's doing Axel things, bruh.
yeah,
10 rushes, 50 yards. Man is averaging a perfect 5 yards to carry on this game, and he got him a
Boy,
touchdown
axe
too.
his way in for the touchdown too, because when I seen that dude bounced outside in that 1-on-1, I said, "Oh, I already knew this was about to get ugly." Boom! Hit him with that shoulder pad. I dragged him and a few guys in there for the touchdown. I said, "Oh man, it's about to get
It-
crazy." Axel out here balling. But
yeah,
yeah, that was it though for the Diablos. Other than that,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That was it. That was it, man. But this was this was a snooze fest. To be honest,
it took a
it
minute
was a
for
very
some action. But
yeah. But
yeah,
I feel
Marshall's
like
getting it done.
I feel like the Marshalls. We might see them in the playoffs. We might see them in the playoffs.
We will see. For the next game, Steamers versus Desperados. Now, Desperados put up a bit of a fight. Now we know, of course, they got Marquise Washington after the trade. Marquise Washington able to do a bit more than he was last week because he got an extra quarter to play. So got to play at first half, made some impressive throws, made some plays. But the Steamers, man, again, just Reed Wagner throwing some dots through a few touchdown passes. But his most impressive touchdown pass to me was that one where it was up the seam and the defender was as tight as you could be in coverage,
Yeah.
throws the ball, and it's like it went right by the guy's fingertips, and the catch was made by, I believe it was Larry Clark, who was on this picture, who caught a long touchdown pass too, by with the second team, with Kurt Peterson. And
Yeah.
Kurt Peterson, I got your arm motion right, man. I made you a left-handed quarterback. My bad. But yeah, so it's caught. The touchdown was made, and I was just like, man, it's not many quarterbacks that's going to throw a dime like that unless it's the highest overall rated and reigning MVP of the league in Reed Wagner, man. With 24-17, the final score. What's your thoughts on your
Yeah.
Steamers getting the job done like
Yeah.
this?
Hey, I'm happy about that, man. I'll be honest, the Desperados had me scared for a little bit. They had me scared for a little bit. This was closer than I would like. I don't care if it's a good team or not. I don't like close games when it comes to us playing. I want to dominate every week. Everybody knows this. But Reed Wagner, man, that like you were saying, that pass, it was honestly, it was just perfect. It was just a perfect pass, and I don't think too many quarterbacks can make a throw like that. Like it was a great pass by Reed Wagner,
Craziest
and like
thing
you're
too,
saying,
I forgot to bring up though, was the first touchdown. Did you see that one? That was
okay,
crazy because he really dropped the ball. Even had an animation like, "Oh man, I really dropped that," but they gave him the touchdown. I was like, "What in the world just happened?" Eric Reese just got a touchdown for dropping the ball. That was crazy.
I was scratching my head a little bit, but I was like, hey, we'll take it. We'll take
Of
it. Hey,
course.
we'll take it, man. But Marquise Washington, he's looking like he's gonna do pretty well in this Desperados offense, man. And now Tavion Hall has a good quarterback to like a really solid quarterback to help him out here. And I feel like Marquise Washington is gonna also really do well like with like his counterpart Geno Gannon from that same draft class. I feel like he's gonna do pretty solid this season. And yeah, but the fact that they were able to play us this close like that, I really think is a real testament to how good this Desperado team can be this season.
It's gonna be interesting, man. Moving on, the Celtic Tigers got their first preseason win, beating the Armadillos 27-17. Justin Jones, man, was in conversations, of course, for quarterback of the year, and they're up for MVP for the conference and stuff like that. But man, he had two big throws, two big touchdown bombs hitting Ross Deerdorf down the right sideline and also hitting on the right sideline Cam Rux, who I think Cam Rux literally has only two catches in two preseason games, and both catches went for long touchdowns. So that could be a sign of something to come, for something to look out for in the regular season when going up against the Celtic Tigers. It look like he's going to be their home run stretch guy. You got to make sure you have a guy that can stick with him and can
Yeah,
stop him a little bit, slow him down at the line. But Justin Jones still ripping it deep down the field. And the backup Paris Polo was going there. He threw in a touchdown pass, and they end up walking out here with a 10-point victory.
yeah. This Celtic Tigers team, like once Dre left, you were probably a little bit worried about how this team was gonna look. But Justin Jones has fit in very great with this team, and he is performing at a high level. And I feel like he's going to end up in that conference MVP conversation or quarterback of the year for his conference. I feel like he's going to be definitely in that conversation again this year. And I just want to talk about Euro Winbush, man. That he's starting to look pretty good out there in CT as well. And I know that this is one of the things we were talking about at the draft. Like, should the Miners have taken Euro Wimbush? I still think that they should have, but Euro Wimbush is starting to come along nice. Trey Worsley still looking he's up. He's you can tell he's getting older, but he's still like he hanging on in there, man. He's still hanging on. But this was a great game by the Celtic Tigers, and Lord knows what's going to happen with them this season. I feel like they're probably going to make a deep playoff run, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the way Levi Dixon is looking too. The now
Oh
starting running
yeah,
back
for
for
the
the Armadillos. He had a long
yeah
had an outside breaking touchdown run, running through about three defenders. Was able to find his way in the end zone for the touchdown.
yeah
So that was fire. He looks like he's in his second year. We knew he was going to be a beast back coming out of college, and then getting this
yeah
opportunity after retirement, after the retirement of Carlos Berry. I think that right there has really just put him more so on pace to continue to be a fast developing back and be one of the top backs in the future in the RFL. He's definitely running very good. But
yeah. And I think
yeah,
learning from Carlos, I think with Levi Dixon learning from Carlos Berry as well is really helping him out, and it's proven well. He's running pretty good. I feel like when the season rolls around, we probably have to keep an eye on this guy, man. We probably have to keep
yeah,
an eye
for
on him.
sure. Getting all those carries, man. And in the final premier game, Black Knights able to beat the Huskies in the preseason. There was only one touchdown in this game, and the lone touchdown 4-7 came from number 7, Geno Gannon, getting it done rushing. And I'm gonna be honest, what I was most impressed with in this game was the performance of Geno Gannon. This guy
Yeah,
was throwing some great passes, and even with the receivers that he has the weight to develop, he was still with his arm strength and his accuracy, he was able to elevate their game. And I feel like he's this could be a bounce back year, as I have on the main poster for this podcast. Do you think this is going to be a bounce back year for Geno Gannon? And on top of that, I know we've asked this before, but based off of what you've seen and how efficient he looked there with the starters for a first half against a starting Huskies defense, can he take the Black Knights to the playoffs?
ooh, this gonna be a Geno Gannon resurgence season, man. He has looked great so far with this Black Knight team, and yeah, I do think the Black Knights do have. I do think he has a chance to take the Black Knights to the playoffs. If they do, I do not. Of course, I don't think they're going to win the division, but I do think they managed to sneak in as a wild card team because he has just looked great with this offense, man. He has looked great with this offense. Everybody's performing well, and it's just going to be a matter of if the defense can really hold up, man, against some of these top teams. If they can hold up, I think they can. I think they have a really solid chance at making a wild card spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, and when you talk about it too, of course you get excited about it, about what you're seeing a little bit in the preseason while they are working against the starters for a half. But then
Yeah,
you also got to think about where the Huskies are too right now. The defense still didn't give up much, and they had Calvin Poole, who is in his second year, getting the reins to be that franchise guy, and he still has development to go. We know how good of
yeah,
a quarterback his ceiling is on where we think he will be. But that probably could have played a factor too as to why
yeah,
the Black Knights were able to kind of keep a lid on the Huskies offense.
yeah,
Because when you think about these younger guys in these roles right now, it's
yeah,
going to take a minute before they really click and start to show their true talents and abilities. It's gonna be at the next level. And so I think
yeah,
that you know, a Calvin Poole you run into the first half of the season is going to be way different than a Calvin Poole you run into the second half of the season. And
yeah,
also at the same time, can kind of credit the Black Knights defense, even though they've held it to the small points of 6, because this isn't something just new that just popped up that we just seen right now. Even though it's a preseason game, last year their defense played above what we expected. We thought they were going to be like probably one of the worst defenses in the RFL, and really they
Yeah,
simply weren't that. They shocked a lot of us because their defense improved and their offense was actually improved too, and it looked pretty good. So not really too much to go on now after with this game, but
yeah,
Geno Gannon still, in my opinion, looked very sharp with good defensive coverage and just quick decision making. And I'm interested to see what he's going to do
yeah.
moving forward.
This is a great game by him. Great game.
And we get to our last two games as we have the Cougars and the Miners. Now the Cougars going to walked out 1-1, getting their first preseason win. The Miners still looking for their first. Offense had its struggles, but this was more so. It looks like there was a decent amount of points. It was over 40 points scored in this game, but it was a defensive game for sure. He had a pick six to
Yeah,
start the game out. It was picked off by Jason DePape, took it to the crib. And the Cougars were just able to like really work their way back. And then John Bastide really opened up in the second half with 2 touchdown passes. You can see from the stat line there. The
yeah,
run game, there wasn't a single running back that even touched 30 yards on the ground. That's how dominant these defenses were up front with their front sevens. And yeah, it really wasn't too much to go into on this one. Big play by Morris Blaylock, the rookie out of Notre Dame. He made some big catches. His first catch was a big one down the right sideline. Then he ended up capping off that drive with a touchdown. But the Cougars walk out of this one with a 27-17 victory. Should takeaways.
yeah. This was one of those games where I feel like the score was misleading in terms of how it was played because, yeah, like you said, this is a very defensive game, and it was pretty much the point where the running backs they might as well not even have taken the field
Yeah,
because they weren't getting nothing. I mean, everybody was just everybody on the defense on both sides of the ball were just killing them. And you can tell just from it, even if you just go back at the end of the game and you look at the stat lines, look at how many people have a TFL in this
yeah,
game. It is
everybody.
insane. It was pretty much like 11 on one team and 11 on the other. Everybody got TFL. It was insane. I've really never seen anything like that before. It was something. And it I'm in the and I don't I'm not gonna get into this because I know there is a question for this one. I'm not gonna get into it too much, but this Cougars team, the offense. I'm a little
No
on the
concern.
fence.
And
I'm a little concerned.
then I guess we could jump into that question. Again, the reason why it's hard to even tell right now based off how it went, we know the trade. Of course, we just talked about Geno Gannon now being a Black Knight. Of course, the trade off was the former Black Knight quarterback Jacob McCall being in exchange in that trade, and now he's leading the Cougars offense. He struggled mightily against this Miners defense, and they were able to score the touchdown while he was there because the defense was able to get an interception where Keone Jones almost took it back down the right sideline, and then he had short field to work with where he managed to get a pass in for a touchdown. So looking at that, of course, you have to credit just the sheer ability and how
Yeah,
good the Miners defense is for one. And
yeah,
then you have to think about where the weakness lies a little bit with Jacob McCall with not having that arm strength to really push the ball down the field. But thinking about that, do you see this Cougars team with Jacob McCall at the helm as their starting quarterback making it back to the playoffs with him this year?
don't know. I don't know. I can't say just yet because, like we were saying, this is the Miners defense. They have a very great defense, and who knows? It could just be a situation where he just doesn't match up well against them with this Cougars team. But I I don't know. It's gonna be a situation where you have to see how it plays out because we could see a very different Jacob McCall in throughout the season, and he may be able to do enough just to get them in there. And it may be a situation where they can beat up on these smaller teams, but then when you put McCall in a situation where he's playing one of these top defense, defense he's probably not gonna be able to perform, and they're probably if they do make the playoffs, you're probably gonna see a wild card exit for them. But it's too much. It's too much. It's too much to think about in just 2 games, right?
Mhm.
So it's just it's one of the situations you're gonna have to see how it plays out because it's only like I said, it's only been 2 games with this new team. It could be a completely different situation once the regular season comes around and they actually get settled and have a lot of team chemistry going into once season really gets kicked off.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. That division, I still feel like they got a decent shot. You know, the front runners I'd have to say for the North now would have to be the Huskies. But again, we just talked about Calvin Poole. Calvin Poole still has to develop and still is developing. Same deal with Jacob McCall. So these two are pretty much on the same track. So
Yeah.
there's a chance. There's definitely a chance, in my opinion. In the final game, of course, the obliteration game, man. The Thunderbirds. The way they came out was ridiculous. I wasn't expecting. I was excited for this game, man, because I thought we had Jabri Jackson, LC3. Boy, we ain't getting no hype out of Jabri, man. Jabri couldn't
Oh
do
man.
nothing against this Thunderbirds defense. Line couldn't block this defense up front. They were getting turnovers, getting sacks. They were doing whatever they wanted. But the biggest thing that if this is to come into fruition this season for the Thunderbirds, they can easily be NRC champs again, is the offense.
Yeah.
The offense looked extremely electric. LC3 in the first half threw for 229 yards and 3 touchdowns, completing 15 out of 18 of his passes. Didn't throw a single interception. Very efficient. Receivers was out there making plays, and of course, he doesn't care, man. He will try you and be aggressive with some of his passes. One pass he had over the middle in the seam out there to Tate Phillips, and he caught it, and he threw it so perfect where it was behind the back of Kobe Bamba to where he couldn't do anything. He couldn't even react. All he had to do was just lay the biggest hit he possibly could on Tate and hope that he dropped it. And Phillips held on to it. And dudes was just making impressive play after impressive play. The run game was looking crazy. Couldn't do anything to stop this offense. And if that becomes a problem, the Thunderbirds between 40-14, the final score here. We already know though there are flaws with the Gunners, right? We know that their defense struggled last year. It got a little bit better towards the end of the year, but still a struggling defense. We know their offensive line is struggling mightily. I think that's the worst area for the Gunners right now. So, although the win looked very dominant, wins like this, I don't see it being anything consistent against top tier teams technically. But that defense, we already know they're going to be on that elite level. Can the offense continue to perform at this level is the question. And based off of what you just seen from this game right now, I mean, that was with starters. Do you think that the Thunderbirds are front runners for the NRC champs once again to go to the Reload Bowl for a fifth time, which would be the most? They right now have the most in RFL history, the most Reload Bowl appearances with for a fourth time, with 3, and they only won one of those things. You think they get their fourth time as NRC champs again?
Yeah, I think it's a real. As much as I hate to admit, I think it's a real possibility that we see the T-Birds back in the Reload Bowl. Man, it's this team. If only Atlanta played like this in real life. Uh,
Play the Belfort Falcons.
my God, man, it's getting to the point where I'm just like, man, when are they gonna fall off, man? Because this T-Birds team has been looked crazy. Like they were like if you look at Jabri's stat line in the game, like it looks normal. It looks like normal for what you expect a quarterback to play just for the first half. But if you watch the game, they were killing my man.
Yeah.
They were he couldn't get anything going. And even when the backups came in for T-Birds, they were still pretty dominant. Like for example, Clifton General.
Yeah,
He
he
looked
was
he
killing.
looked he was killing. He was killing it. he was running through this Gunners defense, man. It was
Yeah,
it
nice
was
touchdown run too.
yeah. And of course, like we were saying, it is the Gunners, and we know they do have their struggles. But the fact that they were able to do this against a team that, even though they struggle, they are still a pretty okay team. It's not it's looking pretty nice out there in Atlanta for the T-Birds, man. I definitely think they have a good shot at the NRC at making the Relo Bowl again, and I feel like with them it's going to be like it's going to just be a dogfight between them, the Explorers and the Steamers. I feel like it's just going to be a dogfight between these three teams.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Shout out to Tyon Nickerson too, throwing his first touchdown pass of his pro career, even though it's a preseason. He did throw his first interception as well, but he had some pretty decent looking plays again. And then the kid Mitchell Grant looked pretty good still as a 65 overall rookie quarterback, first time ever in RFL play. He looks like he's pretty vast at making quick decisions and things like that. But yeah, that's it for the recap of week 2 of the RFL preseason. We're about to head into week 3 of the preseason. I already talked about the mod, so we're just going to get into that and then we're going to go right into open questions. I don't got any 25 from CP25. He didn't see me those today, man. But he's probably still thinking about the questions. But here we go. This is the upcoming schedule for this week. I kind of enlarged the bottom logos so it'll be easier to see. So I don't technically have to zoom in. You guys can see this. I'll be posting this on social media as well. But Thursday, we kick things off. Diablos looking for their first preseason win in their last preseason game against the undefeated 2-0 Memphis Steamers. Looking at the spreads in which I have for them, let me go ahead and check it out. I have the Steamers expect to win by 4 or more points. What's your thoughts here on that matchup?
Man, give me the Steamers. You already know.
Yeah.
You already know. I'm taking the Steamers. Never betting against my team. I'm taking the Steamers, and I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like we have a pretty decisive victory this time around.
We'll see how that goes. Starter's going to be in for 3 quarters. So, uh,
So
yeah, that's going to be pretty much almost like a real game. Then following that on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, we got the Condors versus the Barons. The Barons are hot. Condors have had, some big moments with their backups with John Bell. But of course, again, only 1 quarter for backups. Starters playing the first 3 quarters. And both of these teams will be starting their guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Chase McCoy, first game, threw one pass and it was excuse me. He threw one pass and it was one interception in the first week. So he really didn't get to showcase anything this past week. He threw an interception again, but he followed up with 2 touchdown passes, and was able to bounce out a little bit. Now it's time to see what he looks like almost full in a full game, right, against a Barons team that's looked
yeah,
impressive so far this preseason. I do have the Barons though finishing out their preseason undefeated by 2 or more points.
yeah. I'm gonna take the Barons. Like, they've looked outstanding this preseason, and I think it's gonna be I I don't know. Like, part of me thinks it could be close. I feel like it could be close, but at the same time, if the Barons come out playing like they did this week, man, it's gonna be ugly. But definitely gonna go with the Barons. I definitely they're gonna cover the spread. Give me I'm gonna say the Barons by 10. I really like how this team has looked so far, and Brink, man, we gonna really see what he can do for a full 3 quarters. This is gonna be I guess the make or break game on whether we think he can really elevate this passing offense.
All right, now we got Devin Diggs playing for 3 quarters. Pioneers on the road in Austin, Texas, taking on Chum Lee, who will be playing 3 quarters, and the Armadillos. I have the Armadillos winning by a field goal or more.
I'm gonna go with the Pioneers, man. I really like the way Devin Diggs has been playing. And like I said, he plays with a lot of determination and a lot of tenacity. So I really feel like this. I really feel like he's gonna do. I feel like he's gonna do well. I don't know if he's gonna play to. I don't know if he's gonna come out here playing like how Fontenot's played in his game, but I feel like Devin Diggs is probably he's gonna do enough to get the job done. I feel like it's gonna be a close win. Maybe I feel like the Pioneers gonna be the ones who win by a field goal on this game. I feel like it's gonna be a close game.
All right. Now, next game in the 1 p.m. slot got the Elks versus the Lumberjacks. I've got well, we know now for 3 quarters, JG's playing. He's not even going to give Fontanez that opportunity. He knows what's up. Uh, but I've got the Lumberjacks winning by 4 or more points.
Yeah, give me the Lumberjacks. Jordan Granger is he's another guy who's looked very solid this season, and this Lumberjack team as a whole has looked pretty solid this preseason. And as much as I want to see what Fontenez can do, man, he's gonna have to deal with the 1 quarter he got. But this Lumberjack team has looked pretty solid this season and this preseason, and the Elks are coming off of a bad loss to the Barons, so I feel like that's definitely gonna have some effect on the way they play this week. And I feel like they're still going to be. I feel like they're still going to be trying to get over that loss, and it's going to end up causing them to end up losing this one here too against the Lumberjacks.
All right, next game, we got the Hogs and the Bisons going at it. I'm going with the Bisons here in this one to win by 4 or more points. Um, Starters will be in for the Bison, so JT will be playing 3 quarters. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, this is for the first 3 quarters. We're gonna have Ronnie Shanahan, so
Yeah,
that's kind of why I went with the Bisons here in this one. Starters versus backups. I feel like the Bisons are with with JT for 3 quarters going to have enough of a lead to stay on top.
yeah, and I feel like this. I feel like this is a situation where with the River Hogs, it's probably a situation where, regardless of who starts the game, I just don't think they're gonna have enough to be able to beat the Bisons. And that's no shade to Ronnie, but it's like you're taking a quarterback who is just playing against the backups, and he's a rookie, and you're throwing him in against starters for 3 quarters. It's gonna be a little sketchy. So I feel like he's definitely gonna have his struggles, just like with any quarterback in this kind of situation. I feel like he's gonna definitely have his struggles, but I do think that they're gonna do well, and I think he's gonna do well enough to keep it kind of close. I feel like he's gonna do well enough. I think it's gonna be within one possession, in my opinion, but it's I just don't think they're just gonna have enough to be able to beat the Bison at this point in time.
All right, in our last 1 p.m. game, we have the Orlando Sentinels taking on the St. Louis Aviators. I'm going with the Aviators at home to win by a field goal or more. Main thing why is because we just saw what 2K did last week against the defense in the
Yeah,
first half. He gets 3 quarters to do that, and not only that, it's just something about this Sentinels defense. I just don't feel
yeah,
like the defense is that good. They still need to develop a lot in some areas, and I
yeah,
think 2K is going to have a field day running against that defense, and Kyle Bain should be able to pass pretty well as well. So I'm going with the Aviators.
yeah. You're taking the team who just a running game who just ran through a team who we consider to have a pretty solid defense. In the Dreadnoughts,
That
and
was the
you're
Gunners.
playing. Or yeah,
Yeah, the Gunners. Yeah, they have a pretty
uh,
decent front seven though.
yeah, but you're taking the Aviators and you're taking Aviators in this run game, and you're putting them against the Sentinels, who we've seen has had defensive struggles. And like you're saying, I feel like Kenny and even Didymus are going to just run through this team again. And honestly, 200-yard watch for Kingston Kenny right now, because if he had 150 in one half,
Yeah,
Lord knows he's been doing three.
we'll see. Hopefully, Sentinels can stop that. As you see, QPOC saying in Avery Rhodes we trust. So I'm guessing Avery Rhodes is going to be out there. So I'm definitely going with the Sentinels. I mean, not the Sentinels, the Aviators to win this one if he's out there starting, because it didn't go too good for him last time. And I don't think it will go that good with this starting Aviators team for 3 quarters either.
Yeah,
Moving
nah.
on to the 4 p.m. slot though, Gunners and the Desperados. Um, Jabri Jackson will be playing all 3 quarters. No, Jabri Jackson will not be playing within the 3 quarters. It's going to be uh,
The tie-in
Tyon
show.
Nickerson for 3 quarters, and then to close out, got that boy Zeke Pruitt, man. Zeke Pruitt gonna be in there to close it out for us. But with that quarterback combination, and of course what happened last week, the
Yeah,
Desperados, I got them winning because Marquise Washington will be in for 3 quarters against
yeah,
Tyon Nickerson.
yeah. Desperados are coming off. Even though it was a loss, I call it a good loss. It wasn't like they came out here and got blown out. They played the Steamers really close, and I really feel like this Desperado team is going to beat the Gunners, who we just saw they just got annihilated, and the fact that they don't have their starting quarterback playing at all, yeah, give me the Desperados by
50.
right.
Say nah.
Nah, not 50. I'll give them 10. Desperados by 10.
Okay. All right, next game, Thunderbirds versus Shamrocks. This is an old school rivalry. These two teams used to be in the divisions, same division back in the day. Um, Rocking with the Thunderbirds though, man. For
Yeah,
starters to be out there again. Um, the thing is, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think I'm going to save LC3 for just the fourth quarter. They only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster, so LC3 does have to play. We might get a look at Mitchell Grant for the first 3 quarters, man. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Shamrocks, Tom Wilson will be out there first 3 quarters, so it's going to be pretty interesting. Might be able to
yeah,
switch it around with him, but I think they'll be pretty fine. No, nothing really too much to worry about in my opinion. But the Shams at home, um, they should win. I just now thought about that, so most likely I am going to have LC3 close out. So I did have the Thunderbirds winning this one by a field goal or more, but I still kind of feel like that might be the case. So I'm gonna still stick with it because that's how good their defense is, and I think they're going to give. He'd rather be Tom Wilson or Tyrone Green some serious problems throwing the football on that
yeah,
defense.
yeah. As much as even though LC3 being saved to the fourth quarter is going to be big on the way the T-Birds offense looks, their defense though is gonna it ain't gonna be pretty once again. Like always when you're playing against the T-Birds, I feel like even though they have that quarterback change, I feel like the rest of the team is still going to do enough to get this win. And but I will say though, the fact that is going to be a quarterback change with the T-Birds, this does open up room for the Shamrocks to possibly get an upset. They're gonna have to work for it, no doubt. But it does open that room to possibly get an upset if you can just hold off LC3 in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, if they could get a pretty decent lead too within those
Yeah,
three. Crusaders and Monarchs next game. I'm going with the Monarchs. They had a very impressive win. Of course, we talked about this past week over the Snowhawks. The Crusaders, although they're undefeated right now, Jorge Torres Aguilar has been looking good, but he's going to get saved to the fourth. Ben Wakefield, he's going out there. I'm letting him play 3 quarters. I'm letting Preston Strader go out there and play 3 quarters. So starting quarterbacks, the whole starting unit's going to be out there for this game. And that's going to be pretty interesting to pretty much give a realistic look of what it might look like during a regular season. And off that match, I'm going with the Monarchs, man, to win by 4 more points.
yeah, I'm gonna take the Monarchs as well because this like we were talking about earlier when we are doing the recaps. This Monarchs team is looking pretty solid, and Crusaders, they are undefeated. No, even though they're undefeated in the preseason, I do feel like the Monarchs are gonna edge this one out. I feel like it's probably gonna come down to a last second field goal because these teams, I'd say they're pretty even in terms of talent. Well, I would give the slight edge. I would give an edge to the Monarchs, but I do feel like they're both within that same range in terms of how they can play. So I feel like it's going to be a good game to watch. I feel like probably out of this entire 4 p.m. window, this is going to be the game of that the best game out of that 4 p.m. window.
All right, in our last 4 p.m. game, Marshalls versus Tigers. Uh, I'm gonna go with the Tigers here in this one, man. I think the Tigers get it done. I don't know what Coach Stein's plan is in terms of if he's gonna play Kai Cash first, save him for last, or what. The Marshalls, we're putting Moon out there for 3 quarters, man. So he's gonna be ready to rock. But I'm going with the Tigers because if he was, even if they were to start Kai Cash and have that be the case, when I look at the backups, um, Billy Johnson and the quarterback play is pretty much even, I guess you could say. But I feel like the
Yeah.
Tigers just have a slight bit more depth enough to edge this out. So I'm giving it to the Tigers by a field goal, especially with the home field advantage.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Monarchs. I'm gonna take the Monarchs in this one. I've
You say
liked
you're
how
gonna take
they
who?
not the Monarchs, Marshalls.
Marshalls. Yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about the Monarchs, so yeah.
Yeah.
M teams, but I'm gonna take the Marshalls. The Marshalls, in this one, I've liked the way their team looks, and I've said it before. I feel like they do have the chance to make it to the playoffs, and I feel like with the starters out there, I feel like Leo Moon is gonna help lead his team to do enough to hold that lead because if Kai Cash if he ends up saving Kai Cash for the fourth quarter, it is going to be tough for the Marshall's backups as they're going to be playing against a starting quarterback. So, but I feel like they will be able to build up just enough of a lead to hold him out for those 15 minutes, or not 15 minutes, but for those final minutes of the fourth quarter, and hopefully hang on and get the win here. It's going to be a close one, but I will take the Monarchs and not Marshalls, the Marshalls in this one.
And we now move on to the 6 p.m. slot. Black Knights versus Dreadnoughts. I'm taking the Dreadnoughts. It's hard to choose. I mean, of course, I like the way that Geno Gannon looked. If the offense looks that good, then the Dreadnoughts could be in a bit of trouble. But at the same time, Owen Jack, even though he needs to develop, he's not on the same level as Geno Gannon. He has KJ. And I think the offense can do some damage. Hopefully, they don't look as bad as they did last week. Hopefully they get it together. But I think Geno Gannon, and I'm letting Geno Gannon come out there and play for the 3 quarters, man. Geno Gannon, I want to see what he looks like. And then, of course, you got D'Anthony Young finishing it out. He's looked pretty solid at times. I mean, he's throwing some interceptions that weren't that good. But I'm going to go with the Dreadnoughts just with the home field advantage. And yeah, I can't explain. I just think the talent isn't all the way there yet for the Black Knights to be able to pull this off, even though the starting unit will be out there for 3 quarters.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm gonna be honest. This is a little tough. I feel like I feel like it's gonna come down to defense when it comes to this game because, like you were saying, Black Knights have a Black Knights offenses look really good with Geno Gannon. It's going to be a matter of if their defense can look good against this Dreadnoughts offense. Because you're just saying they have KJ, and we all know
And nobody on that
that.
defense can cover him.
Yeah,
Nobody.
nobody, man, barely people in the RFL as a whole can cover this man. This man is a beast.
But I did
But
also, I forgot to mention, because I didn't think about this, Frankie did tell me that he's trying to sit all his starters. So
ooh,
that could really change a lot. If that is the case, I'm going with the Black Knights then.
yeah,
But
if he sits
yeah,
his starters, if he sits his starters, I am going to go with the Black Knights because that's just gonna you're putting like you're saying, you're putting starters against backups. I'm taking the starters every time. It doesn't matter what the team.
yeah.
But yeah, if he sits the starters, then I'm taking the Black Knights. If he does not sit the starters, I give it to the Dreadnoughts. It's gonna be close, but I give it to the Dreadnoughts.
All right, Miners versus Bulldogs. That's going to be a good defensive battle. Uh, Again, not sure what the starting unit is going to look like. I think Miles McCain will be out there, so their starter will be out there. But I believe that Tajay Gaddy will be out there for 3 quarters for the Bulldogs. And his overall isn't too different from Miles McCain, so it's almost similar when you look at it that way. But if Timmy Merritt's closing things out, I'm rolling with the Bulldogs, and I think their defense is just a bit more potent than what you saw from the Miners. So I'm taking the Bulldogs by 4 more points. My man's having a comment. it's, it's all good. But yeah, I could just roll along and then you could go ahead and tell me afterwards who you got. But Red Dragons versus Cougars the next game. Uh I'm taking the Red Dragons, man. The Red Dragons, I think they're going to be starting their guys. So Anthony Savoy will be out there. Cougars with Jacob McCall out there. I think that the Red Dragons just really aren't the same team they used to be, even though they look pretty good in this preseason so far. I think when they play the Cougars, though, things are going to look different. So I'm going to take the Cougars by. Actually, it says I'm taking the Red Dragons here. So the Red Dragons, I said I'll take for uh, yep, 2 or more points. And mainly, I think I did that because of Anthony Savoy. I got Anthony Savoy doing more damage, probably, than Jacob McCall in that first half with those guys. So it's really a toss up, but I'm going with the Red Dragons in that one. The Bulls and the Huskies. I got the Bulls. Got the Bulls winning that one. Calvin Poole will be starting all 3 quarters. I think Devin Wade will be out there 3 quarters too. So this will just be a whole showdown for 3 quarters. I'm just rolling with. I'm gonna still roll with the Bulls though. I just feel like Calvin Poole will be that guy later on, but not right now. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
All
go
right,
ahead and
I'm
take the
back.
Bulls.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm back. So I'm just give a quick run through. Miners and Bulldogs. I feel like it's going to be the exact opposite of the Black Knights. Dreadnoughts game is going to come down to who's wait, yeah, no, yeah,
What
it's
was
going to
it?
come down to whose offense can perform better because we know they have great defenses, both teams. It's going to come down to whose offenses whose offense can perform better. In this case, I'm taking the Bulldogs every time. Red Dragons and Cougars. I'm gonna take the Red Dragons. Take the Red Dragons. They're coming off of a good win. The Cougars, we still have a lot of questions about the way they're gonna play. So I'm gonna give that edge to the Red Dragons. And then finally with the Bulls versus the Huskies. I'm gonna give it to the Bulls. They're coming off of a pretty solid and I'd say I definitely say it's an upset, definitely a good upset win. Um and the Huskies, like we were talking earlier, it's a matter of how is Calvin Poole going to look? He's still slowly developing. So I'm going to take the Bulls.
We get to our last games here. Voyagers versus Celtic Tigers always makes for a pretty good one. Um, I am going to. Justin Jones will be playing all 3 quarters.
Okay.
Uh, and I don't know what's going on with the situation with the Voyagers, but I'm not sure if they're going to be starting Glenn Hay. But I will. I'm going to take the Celtic Tigers in this one by a field goal or more.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Celtic Tigers. I really like the way this team's looked, and since we don't know what he's gonna do with Glenn Hay, I'm gonna take the surefire Celtic Tigers and Justin Jones. And Uh, I definitely agree with the field goal or more because these are even though we don't know what's going to happen with Glenn Hay, these are still two very good teams, and I feel like they're going to be on par with each other.
And the last game, which is of course our main event, the Portland Snowhawks hosting the Columbus Explorers. That should be a great game for sure. But I'm going with the Explorers in this one
Yeah,
mainly because of the Joseph Gilly situation. If he
yeah,
struggled and he's throwing interceptions, and I am trying a different book for him, Gilly will play 3 quarters because I'm trying to see what he can do with that with this new book that we're going to be trying out this week. The Explorers, they're looking set, so I'm gonna let them roll out. And honestly, too, I'm letting Daryl Johnson go out there 3 quarters, so that's going to be pretty interesting to watch. Um, yes, so I'm going to take the Explorers here in this one by a field goal or more.
yeah. I'm going to take the Explorers as well. This is a situation where it's gonna come down. I feel like it's gonna come down to how Gidley plays because you very well could find a good the book you choose this week can be a perfect match for this guy, and he comes out and he performs very well, or it could be like what happened this week. And if that's the case, Explorers 10 out
I
nine
will
10
say this:
times
I
out of
might switch my mind to. Might actually have Daryl Johnson sit out, and then have. 'Cause I forgot they got three, so I could put Everett Bradley in first, and then what's it called? Ben Nicholson can come in and finish it out in the fourth. So if that happens, then yes, Snowhawks still gonna have. It ain't gonna be easy, but I think the Snowhawks just edge them out if that does happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be like I can't remember which game we were talking about. If even if that happens, I feel like if you're gonna sit Daryl DJ, then Snowhawks are still gonna have to work hard for that win. But that does really help their chances of winning because you won't have Daryl Johnson out there trying to cook your defense. So eh, I'm gonna still give it to the Explorers. I'm gonna still give it to the Explorers, but if Daryl Johnson is gonna be sitting, then it's gonna be a lot closer than what it would be if he was playing.
Yeah. So that's it for the schedule recap, man. Our predictions for this upcoming week. This is the last week of the preseason, guys. And then after that, we get that week off. Season will start on the 29th instead of the 22nd as intended. Like I said, need that time off to try to do other things for the mod and for the league. And yeah, with that being said, we're now into open questions. So if you guys got any questions for us, just go ahead, drop that down in the chat. Um, and yeah, we'll get out of here in about 5 minutes. I'll get 5 minutes of questions. It's just 10 right now, Eastern time. We'll walk out of here at 10:15. Said, have we had any big injuries yet in the preseason? There has been a few. Let me go ahead and check. Of course, I can't show you guys this because I do have some premiere games that have been recorded. But I'm gonna check the injury report. Oh yeah, Thunderbirds did lose Jiren Gray for his last game. He got injured. They said for 4 weeks. But the thing is, after adding that up, that 4 starts the week he got injured. So technically it's 3 weeks at that time, right? So that was in week 2. So this week would be 2 weeks left. We'll knock it down to 2. Next week is a bye week. So now he's got 1 week out. So he'll only be out the first week of the regular season. So, and that's a big game for the Thunderbirds too, because they play up against the Diablos. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Let me see if there's anybody else.
NP Smith said the mod has been pushed back to February. Which date? The
It's going to be
28th.
the 28th now.
28th. Okay.
Yeah, still the day before the season, but the day the season starts has been pushed back a week.
What's your game of Smeet in the Mirror? What's your game of the week for RFL Week 1? And why is it Snowhawks versus Steelers?
Week
Um,
one.
Week 1. I gotta remember the Week 1
Still looking up
schedule.
some injuries here. Oh yeah, Bulldogs lost Damon Hickman, offensive guard, but he'll be gone. He'll only be missing the first game of the season as well. Making sure not
Me.
to get any. Oh yeah, Bulls suffered some serious injuries this past week. We know about Chico Canelli. He got injured, but he'll be back during the regular season because he's got 2 weeks left on his. But this week, of course, counts as one, and then next week is the bye week, so he'll be free. He'll be good and back on the team first week. But missing a game each will be Tavares Golson, their top cornerback, and David Castillo. Castillo really isn't too much of a concern, but losing Tavares Golson is. So hopefully, like I said, just for 1 week, hopefully it's a game that can still pull out without him.
I will say Week 1. For me personally, I will say it is Snowhawks versus Steamers because for anybody who knows, both of my players are going to be playing against each other in that game. So
Yeah.
it's going to be it's going to be game of the week for me for that reason.
Another injury, Keyshawn Hendricks of the Miners, he's out for some time. So he's going to be out for 4 weeks of the regular season due to a dislocated elbow. So it's not their top corner. Of course, they got Last Chance out there and Jason DePape, but this was their starting slot guy. So he's going to be out. And I think I'm just about through everybody. Snowhawks lost Blair Harden, but he'll be back in the regular season. I think I've hit everybody. Yep, and I talked about Jaron Gray missing the first week. Yep, and that was a big injury so far. So it hasn't really been that many. But I guess I could go ahead and look at this week 1 schedule too. But I do agree. I do think that it's the Steamers and Snowhawks game that's the best one.
Isn't this is? I know we played week 1 in season 7. Did we play week 1 in season 8 as well?
I don't think so. That would be crazy if y'all did.
I'm gonna say, is this 3 back-to-back seasons where Steamers and Snowhawks play week 1?
That is crazy.
Let me see.
Yeah, I would have to say that definitely is the best matchup for week 1. Another second to watch after that would be the Tigers and Explorers, just off of, what happened last year. So, yeah. I'm definitely going with you guys' game, though. Most likely that'll be the Monday night close out the week game right there for sure.
The Monday night games, man.
Yeah, the wait.
But you be so anxious start once that week start, because you're like, man, it's not like you going to get your game out the way. You gotta wait, man. That'll definitely be killing me.
Yeah, but we've hit our mark, guys, at 10:15, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the RFL podcast. We'll be back for episode 4 next Wednesday. So make sure you guys tune into that as we recap the final week of the preseason after the games we showed you guys. But that's it for me and Amir. We'll see you guys. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow. He'll see you guys on Wednesday. Till then, peace.
Peace.